This edition of Dolphins Today is presented by Manscaped. I'll tell you all about their top-of-the-line men's grooming products later on in today's show. But you get 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code DOLPHINS over at manscaped.com. Now, before we get today's show going, if you want to be part of the Noti gang here at Dolphins Today, meaning you get a push notification sent to your phone every single time we put out a video, now's the time to make that happen. I've got the numbers here in front of me. Barely 7,000 of you who are subscribed actually have notifications set to all. So if you haven't already, go back to where you're first subscribed, click that bell icon, change it from the default of personalized to all so you don't miss out on any Dolphins vids. We're going to spend time on the ESPN rankings that have come out. ESPN every July does this. They get together with execs, coaches, players, they all vote, and then they will rank the top 10 players at each position. They did the edge rushers yesterday. We'll get to corners later on, by the way. Jaelan Phillips just missed out on the top 10, which I didn't think he would be in the top 10, but he was actually the first honorable mention player, which I was both impressed and a little bit surprised by, quite frankly. There's a very clear league-wide expectation of a massive breakout season for Jaelan Phillips. I like player a lot. I don't want to be as like, oh, I was surprised, therefore me being negative. Not what I mean. But I think in general, this edge rushers ranking, as you'll see here momentarily, definitely skews towards the pass rushers in terms of like not valuing the run stopping. Like Cam Jordan made this point. He's like, why are me and Eric Armstead and Tank Lawrence not higher up on those lists? But Phillips in the top 15, I think actually does make sense. He was the first honorable mention. Not many massive surprises here. Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt. That makes sense. Hassan Reddick is fifth. Max Crosby actually feels a bit low at number 6. Brian Burns, a bit of a potential surprise next step guy there as well. Matthew Judon had a great year for the Patriots. Von Miller, Joey Bosa. Some injuries there, but good production in years past. Here's what one AFC executive said, or at least told ESPN. I'll emphasize allegedly, because it's all anonymous. Huge upside. He was raw coming in, but a big athlete, and he plays his ass off, expecting a huge year from him. Phillips' numbers, quote-unquote, dropped last year. The sacks went down, but the tackles went up. The TFLs stayed pretty consistent. In general, you have to remember he's a second-year football player, or at least was a second-year player, now a third-year player. That level of production of getting 2 years of 7+ sacks is actually really good for a player his age, especially someone who, like the executive mentioned, was viewed as a bit raw coming out. I think the addition of Bradley Chubb did help out Jaelan Phillips a little bit. It takes some of the pressure off him. You also have Emmanuel Ogbah, who we put at defensive end / outside linebacker, but limited numbers, so hey, it is what it is there. I do think a massive season is going to come this year for Jaelan Phillips. I think double-digit sacks is your over-under if healthy. So prediction time. How many sacks will Jaelan Phillips have this season? It's today's pinned comment, so head down to that spot and get your votes in. If the ad comes here on YouTube, perfect time to take advantage of it. Head down there and let us know. Xavier and Howard next up here. So again, same thing as the Edge, ESPN, top 10, execs, coaches, players, blah, blah, blah. Howard was also the first honorable mention. Now, they do not do it alphabetical, so I think it actually is in order for the honorable mentions. The concern there was that maybe he's on the decline. Now, I will say Howard being 11th as the first honorable mention does give the Dolphins the best duo in the NFL at corner, because Jalen Ramsey was number 3 on these rankings, which, again, shouldn't surprise anybody given the way he's played. So we're not going to spend that much time on Ramsey outside of this brief mention, because we all know he's good. That's not a huge surprise. Everyone's on board with that. It just kind of tracks from that perspective. Patrick Surtain was number 1. Sauce Gardner, number 2. Ramsey, 3. Jair Alexander was 4. Darius Slay, 5. Marlon Humphrey, 6. Marshawn Lattimore, 7. Diggs was 8. Denzel Ward was 9, or Trayvon Diggs was 8. And 10 was A.J. Terrell. If you were to ask fans of those fans of those teams, they would all say those guys are worthy of being top 10. Maybe the top 11 is a good cutoff, because I do think Howard should still be in that top 10 conversation. We'll go into why here in just a moment, but first, today's show is made possible by Manscaped. 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code Dolphins over at manscaped.com. That includes the Performance Package 4.0. It has everything you need to prepare that summer bod, the ultimate grooming bundle for your summer grooming, highlighted by the Lawnmower 4.0 cutting-edge ceramic blade to help reduce grooming accidents. I don't know about you guys. I've had that before. Not fun. Rather painful, if we're being honest there. It's also waterproof, so you can just use it in the shower. Smooth Sack Summer is here, and Manscaped is making sure you're skate from pubes to bum. They are the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, making sure we have everything we need for a ball this summer. So get 20% off with code Dolphins over at manscaped.com. 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code Dolphins. Smooth Sack Summer is here. Get on board or get left behind. Speaking of ball skills, that is Xavier Howard. Get it? Get it? It's somewhat dirty. That is Xavier Howard's game, as his NFL scout points out. He's got great ball skills, the alleged scout said. Physical. I wonder how he's going to age, because some of those bigger corners don't always age well, and you have to be able to run. An AFC scout said he's on his way down, but will have a good year due to scheme and is finally healthy. That's a common refrain from both of those scouts, that there's concern that Xavier Howard is maybe not going to be the same guy we've seen at his absolute prime. He did, by the way, just turn 30 on July 4th. So do you think Howard is actually on the decline? Y for yes, N for no. Over the last 4 years, Howard's production has been great, right? Like, he got 16 interceptions the past 3 seasons. That's really great. He's got 28 interceptions since 2017. Honestly, if he can keep that up, as tough as it is, that is some borderline Hall of Fame production in terms of ball skills and interceptions and takeaways there. They have dipped the past couple years. I don't really want to blame him too much for 2022. And he missed some time, and the defensive coaching staff was a bit of a mess. They really missed Brian Flores. I think Vic Fangio is going to lead to at least more of a 2021 campaign out of Xavier Howard. And there's this part, too. Remember, Byron Jones was hurt all of last year, so teams could avoid Howard a little bit more easily. Now there's Jalen Ramsey. Teams are probably going to throw more at X because they don't want to throw at Jalen Ramsey, which means more opportunities for big plays and interceptions. If you guys want even more Dolphins YouTube videos, you've come to the right spot. We have free videos for you guys every single day. I know I'm just the interim host, but I'm going to do my damnedest to keep you guys updated here, especially with training camp just around the corner. So make sure you guys are subscribed. Christian Wilkins conversation to wrap up today's show here. Wilkins said he wants to be in Miami. He is in the final year of his contract, and that is noteworthy since the market for the defensive tackle room is really kind of already has and will continue to explode. I think you make a really good argument, and it's not a shot against anybody else, it's just praise for Wilkins, that he was the best defensive player on the Dolphins last season with the way he was able to impact the team, especially as a run stopper. But Wilkins was at an event. He was at Emmanuel Ogba's football camp and said this when asked about from media about his future. He says, "Miami's home. That's where I got drafted. That's what I love, so that's where I want to be." Now, I will say, and it's the right mindset to have for the player, that's where he wants to be as long as he gets paid. He ain't going to take the vet minimum, you know what I'm saying? And the defensive tackle market has really grown. Jeffrey Simmons, Deron Payne, Dexter Lawrence, all getting $22.5 or more million in recent weeks. Javon Hargrave, or months I should say. Hargrave got $21 million at a bit of an advanced age, relatively speaking, to this list. Chris Jones about to get a big fat new contract extension. So what is the most that you would pay Christian Wilkins? I think if you want to keep him, you got to give him at least $20 million a year. There is, of course, the franchise tag option as well. We'll spend some more time on his play, but what's the most you'd pay him? Drop the answer for me in the comment section. The last 4 years for Wilkins, look, his career, I guess I should say, has been pretty impressive. Pretty much got better each season. The numbers don't always reflect that from 2019 to 2022. The sacks went down a bit this year. But 98 tackles for an interior defensive lineman is absurd. That is a massively high figure. He had 16 tackles for loss. Yeah, the sack numbers aren't the greatest. Something tells me they might go up with a non-all-blitz defense this upcoming season. But in terms of like your run-stopping defensive tackles, especially if you take out the nose guards like a Deron Payne, a Vita Vea, And Christian Wilkins is up there. So don't discount the value he brings if you are, just because there's only 3.5 sacks on there. It's a solid Dolphins front, but Christian Wilkins is the engine up front along the trenches there. I like Zach Sealer. We mentioned Agba can kind of play some 3-4 DE edge, kind of mix and match there a little bit depending on the front. When they go with more of a four-man front, you can put Wilkins with either Zach Sealer or Davis. But Wilkins is a critical part of this Dolphins defense. I would love if he got paid before or at least during training camp.